Recently, DoorDash knocked the base pay down in several markets, including mine. The base pay went from $2.75 to $2, so that's obnoxious, but it's not what I want to focus on in this video. I want to talk about something else they snuck in there when they lowered the pay. Whether you hate them or you love them, there's been a lot more doubles lately. Let's talk about why. Along with knocking the base pay down, DoorDash decided to shaft drivers with even less pay when we accept doubles. Now, that's not new. For as long as I can remember, DoorDash has always paid drivers less for accepting doubles. So, while I do want to talk about it, it's not the primary focus of this video. It used to be that you would accept an order, and it would typically pay your market's minimum base pay plus tips. If you accepted an add-on order, it would typically pay your market's minimum base pay minus $1 plus tips. So, we weren't getting rich, but assuming you knew how to accept your orders wisely, we were doing okay. Unfortunately, we're seeing a prediction I made over a year ago coming true. $1 base pay. Now, in many markets, DoorDash is only paying us $1 per order for the privilege of accepting a double. Meanwhile, we're putting more miles on our car and spending more time on the platform. Essentially, in plain English, if you're foolish enough to accept a double where neither customer tipped, and yes, that happens, you're essentially only going to get paid $2 in base pay for 2 pickups and 2 drop-offs. It's worth mentioning, the customers aren't being charged any less in fees. Hell, there's no option in the app to save $1 by doubling your order. Let me know in the comments how many orders you can knock out in an hour. For me, it's typically about 2. Let's assume for a moment that both of those 2 orders are doubles. It's only going to work out to be $4 in base pay. Had I accepted those orders separately, that would have been $8 in base pay. Now, if I typically try to do 10 orders in a day on just DoorDash, they just save $10 a day on just me. Let's say your market has 100 drivers trying to do 10 orders in a day. They just saved themselves $1,000 per day in your market alone. That's $365,000 a year in just one market. Now, of course, some are going to be a lot less, and some will be more, but hopefully at this point, you're seeing where I'm going with this. DoorDash has set the precedent that it's a privilege to accept a double on the platform, and therefore, we're going to be paid less for them. That mentality is nothing more than a distraction from the truth, which is that we're doing more work for less pay. So far, we've talked about yet another reduction in base pay, and now to doubles as well. But recently, I've noticed something different with the way DoorDash is processing orders and sending them to drivers. During times that it's busy, I'm finding myself waiting substantially longer in between offers. And no, it's not because of my acceptance rate. I'm waiting longer on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, although I haven't noticed much of a change during the week. Hell, I'm seeing more offers on Grubhub than I am on DoorDash on the weekends. I may find myself waiting 10 to 15 minutes between offers on DoorDash. However, when I do get that offer, they're almost always a double now. I have always tried to be careful about the doubles I accept on DoorDash. Let's face it, most of them usually don't pay very well, and I don't want to run around any more than I have to. Generally, if I do take a double on DoorDash, both pickups need to be at the same restaurant, and if they're not, they need to be damn close to each other. Lately, I've been seeing doubles that make absolutely no sense. I'm talking serious backtracking between the second pickup and the first customer. I'm of the opinion that this leads to a negative customer experience and could potentially negatively impact our ratings as well. Matter of fact, come to think of it, when I set up my own double, for example, accept an order on Uber Eats and DoorDash, what I do is almost always cleaner than what I've seen DoorDash setting up for us lately. For example, when I am creating my own double, ideally I would like to see both pickups at the same restaurant all the time, and if not, the second pickup needs to be on the way to the first customer. But that's not what I've been seeing on DoorDash. Furthermore, I would be willing to bet that if one of your customers saw you backtracking and gave you a bad rating, that DoorDash would not have your back. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments. When it comes to gig apps, typically speaking, the terms of service do not explicitly say that you can't multi-app. Usually what they say is something along the lines of, you cannot intentionally delay an order. This could result in deactivation. So, to be clear, if I were multi-apping on DoorDash and Uber Eats making my own double and I got just a little sloppy with it, I could potentially get deactivated for delaying an order. But when DoorDash wants to take even more money out of our pockets, it is entirely acceptable to send the driver the fuck in the wrong direction. I want to stop here and take a moment to think about what this would look like if DoorDash was actually being transparent with their drivers and their customers. But before we do that, press the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. All right, let's continue. If DoorDash were transparent, the driver would get an offer that said more work, less pay. Meanwhile, the customers would see something along the lines of, you're not saving any money in fees, we're paying your driver less, and you're the second stop on the drop-off, even though you tipped the most. For over 3 years now, DoorDash has been a secondary app for me. Once I got activated on my second app, I realized just how little they pay their drivers. Historically, if they had a hard time getting a bad order delivered, they would double it with a good order. When this happened, experienced drivers knew exactly how to check which customer was tipping well and which one wasn't tipping at all. I used to accept doubles all the time, knowing that one of them was probably pretty good and the other was trash. I would always check the screen that would show you how much that order was paying versus the other one. Remember that screen? It used to pop up and say something along the lines of, if you unassign this order, the new pay will be, we'll call it $8. Now, that same screen does not show you the new dollar amount. To get that, you have to call support. They took that section away because their main objective is to get that order delivered, not to make sure the driver makes money on it. The responsibility falls entirely on us to ensure our own profitability. DoorDash is always lowering our pay, and now we get $1 per order for the privilege of accepting doubles. And let's not forget, meanwhile, there's still a 70% acceptance rate requirement to Dash Now. I want to reiterate this and really drive it home. They do not care about you. They do not care about me. We're just numbers to them. All they care about is getting that order delivered quickly. They would rather create goofy programs, play mind games, and try to trick drivers rather than just paying us reasonably. But they're just going to keep squeezing drivers. I don't want this entire video to just be me bitching. So, let me tell you how I've adjusted my strategy. Personally, I am not okay with doing more work for less pay. So, during peak hours on the weekends, if I get a double on DoorDash that isn't paying at least $15, I'm declining it. I'm not even giving it a second thought. It's not worth my time. I have made it no secret that Uber and Spark pay by far better in my market, so I'm going to focus on them instead. I'll lower my standards on DoorDash during the week or during non-peak hours when there's fewer orders and therefore fewer doubles. It's always good to have options. That's why, if you've watched my channel, you've heard me say many times that you should have as many tools in your toolbox as possible. I said it in a recent video and I'm going to say it again. I don't care if most of the Grubhub and Uber Eats offers are trash in your market. They actually do it right and don't have an acceptance rate requirement to drive whenever you want, so you have no excuse not to be running the apps. I am a firm believer that drivers should make themselves as independent from individual apps as they possibly can. Your weekly deposit should be diversified. It should look like a stock portfolio. A little over here, a little over there, and a little more over there. If 60% of your money or more comes from one app, you are setting yourself up for failure. Drivers get deactivated unjustly all the time. Diversify how you earn. Not only could you make a bunch more money by doing so, but you're also setting yourself up for success when inevitably one of these apps takes a shot at you. This is the message that DoorDash does not want you to hear. It doesn't matter how they spin it. They're squeezing the drivers more and more. They love the driver that blindly follows the propaganda and assumes that they're getting a good deal. Don't be that driver. Do your research. Know exactly what you're getting into. And most importantly, always follow the money.